What are your biggest obstacles and how do you overcome them? Challenges and obstacles are as certain as the sun. Sure as each day dawns, challenges and obstacles do too. Sometimes they're vast, complex, overwhelming, often, and sometimes they can be small, quick, or insignificant. But anticipating, spotting, navigating challenges is all part of life and particularly part of business. Welcome to the Alchemy of Alignment. I'm your ever curious host, Susie Sanders. I'm also the founder of Alchemy Virtual Assistants. And today we are joined by one of the most resilient, inspiring and kind-hearted people I have the privilege of working with. And that's Lynsey. And Lynsey is one of Alchemy VA's trusted franchise partners, heading up all things Alchemy from Edinburgh. And she's the kind of person that gets things done. She's also very busy. So I'm very grateful that Lynsey's made a little bit of space in her day to share some of her valuable perspective and insights with us. So Lynsey, your first time on the show, welcome here. Thank you for making space for us. How are you today?
Glad to be here. I'm good. Glad to be here, Susie. Thank you for inviting me.
Good, good. Now, I alluded a little bit into what makes you you and how we know each other because we started your training back at the end of December. Was it December 2024?
December, yeah, which is mad.
Which is mad. And
Yeah.
and it's been, so your business is still very young, but you've had the most phenomenal start to your entrepreneurial journey, haven't you? It's been a wild few months.
It has. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a good one. Yeah, really good.
So before we crack into our big episode question, as we always do, whilst you're running your virtual assistant franchise now, could you give a little bit of insight into what you did prior?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in the corporate world, very similar to yours, Susie. So I was an executive assistant for an investment bank before this, and I'd been in that role for a long time. I think it was, gosh, I don't even remember now. It's crazy, 12 years. And prior to that, I was kind of in the events space, events management, where I kind of started out, and then moved slowly into the PA space. And I can talk about a wee bit later kind of where that shift came into it. But yeah, a long time spent in that space. And then I was made redundant last October. This time last year I was made redundant. And that was the kind of push into this VA world that I now find myself in.
Oh, and here we are. And I know you're the kind of person that you're insanely organized, proactive. You're the kind of girl that if you want something done, I always feel confident that you're that person. And actually your history has shaped you that way. But if we're looking at today, Lynsey, what are your biggest obstacles? And how do we start to overcome them?
I was just about to say, where do I start? Oh, honestly, I'm not even joking. Okay, so for those that don't know me, I have a progressive muscle wasting condition called limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. I was diagnosed with that at 19 years old. I'm now 40. So I've had it for my whole entire adult life. So that has really had a massive impact on my life, the obstacles I face day to day, working life, personal life. And yeah, the kind of barriers that I've faced over the years and continue to face. So I'm going to kind of focus on that side of things to start off with, because I think quite a lot of things revolve around that and kind of how I've got to where I've got to. So there's the more kind of obvious barriers, which are the physical ones. So I said that my condition was a progressive condition. So when I was like 20 to 25, I had I would call it an invisible illness. Like nobody could really, I dealt with it internally. Nobody could really see the barriers that I was facing. Whereas now, 20 years on, it is a lot more visual to the eye, my disability. You know, I have walking difficulties and stuff like that. So it's easier to kind of navigate those physical barriers from a point of people can see what I need now. So it starts from like barriers in the house, like every single chair in my house has been measured. It's got to be at a certain height for me to be able to get up and down. My car has got to be, you know, it's got to have so many different specifications to allow me to drive. It's adapted. It's got to be a certain height. And that allows, my car is really my independence, because I can't sort of, you know, I'm not in a wheelchair, but I do have walking difficulties, so I use a crutch. So my car is like my legs, you know, I'm in my car all the time. I'm out and about. The world is not built for people that are disabled. And people that aren't disabled won't see that side of things, because they just see the old ramp or, you know, the handrail to get into places. But it really isn't. Some places are better than others. Some countries are better than others. It's really varied, but there's no consistency with things like that. So going out networking, going to events, going out for dinner to meet friends, going to a cafe, going to a coffee shop. Every single part of my life is planned to, you've no idea the amount of detail that goes into every single thing. Like, I just feel I don't really switch off to planning things for myself. I never switch off. And I suppose that's kind of what makes me so detail orientated in my job as well, because every level of my life is planned to the end detail. So it gives me a different perspective on things that I kind of take into my job as well. Yeah, so there's the physical things, and that goes into my work life as well. So in my old job, I worked in an office in town. I'd worked there for a long time, and that was an accessible office. I had a car parking space within the building, and I was able to go to work by myself there was adaptations in place for me to be able to do that. But when I was going out into the world of work to look after redundancy, to look for a new role, that was just so difficult for me. There was no consistency. There was no car parks available for me to park. And I couldn't have just found a random space and risked it that I was going to find a space on a street and then have to walk it. Like if it's icy, if it's windy, if there's a crack in a pavement, like they're all fallen hazards for me. So it's just not, it wouldn't have been safe for me to have gone into an office. So that's what brought me to the world, to this VA life, I suppose. There's little things with working, like how do I carry my cup of coffee and my lunch back to my desk with my crutch in the arm, and I've got to get through a door. People don't think about these obstacles. And it's tiny little things that make a huge difference to me not being able to do things. So not being able to get into an office. It's a simple thing like there's a heavy door I can't open. Well, how do I open that heavy door? I can't expect a colleague to be opening that 3 or 4 times a day for me. So yeah, there's a lot of little things that people just wouldn't think about. Fatigue is a big one for me. How long the hours are that I'm working, making sure I'm taking regular breaks, making sure that I am moving regularly, going swimming on a regular basis. And these are all things that are so easily put to the bottom of the pile for anybody. But for me, it's so important that I do all of that. And, you know, working long hours and not doing all those things is draining for anybody. But for me, it's magnified. So any sort of fatigue that anybody would experience from sitting down for long hours, it's worse for me. You wouldn't actually think this, but people are a massive obstacle for me. Not so much now, but that's due to the way that I deal with things now. But in the past, I have had to deal with so many bad situations from people, and it's awful. So I'll give you an example. Things like when I was in my 20s and my disability wasn't as visible, I didn't use a crutch. I would get into a lift at work, for instance, and the lift would be full. You know what these office lifts are like at lunchtime. And somebody would shout out across the lift when I pressed level 1 on the lift. Somebody would shout out, oh, she's only going up 1 flight of stairs, lazy. things like that. And I would literally want to crumble inside. And rather than having the confidence to speak out and say, actually, I'm using it because of this, I would just crumble and then shy away. And then I'd probably like avoid using the lift when there was loads of people in it. I would just wait until the lift had gone. So I used to shy away from situations because of what people used to do to me in the past. And I remember having comments in the past, again, when it wasn't so visible. Climbing stairs was one of my first obstacles with my disability. I slowly was just unable to climb stairs, and now I can't climb stairs at all. And if somebody at work said to me, oh, you know, I had to maybe use the handrail and pull myself up. And if somebody at work was to say to me, why are you climbing the stairs like that? I would just then avoid climbing a stair where anybody was on that staircase. So I used to shy away from it rather than just speaking out. So that's something that I refuse to deal with anymore. Now I'm so much more confident and I just wouldn't let someone else put me off doing something.
Yeah.
So there's the obstacles of people. Household chores, again, I am so lucky I've got a personal assistant who's actually my aunt, who is with me pretty much all of the time. And she allows me to kind of do life independently. So she takes off all the jobs that are really physically exhausting for me to allow me to focus on the things that I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes all my household chores off me. I mean, a lot of them I can't do, but some of them I maybe could do, but if I did it, I wouldn't be able to do anything else for the rest of the day. So she takes away all those sort of anything that's going to be non-valuable to me so that I can do all the value-added activities. So that's work, and that's looking after my son, who's a 7-year-old active boy. He's a footballer. So I go to every single football match, every single training session of his, trudge out in all weathers, and either my aunt or my dad comes to that with me, and that allows, you know, taking away all those tasks that I don't need to be doing, allows me to conserve my energy for doing the things that matter and doing the things that any person without a physical limitation or a physical disability would be able to do. So that's something that I just couldn't be without.
Oh, well, I'm just going to say, Lynsey, I'm going to say thank you because I've always been in awe of how you manage this situation that your life is and how you manage your disability and how you communicate it and advocate for it as well. And I have learned so much from you in the short space that we've been working together in terms of learning about your disability and the obstacles and how you overcome them, but also the kind of the mindset and the confidence that you've developed as well, and hearing those little snippets of people being an obstacle, and you know, those flippant, not thought through comments, how damaging that is. You know, that makes my heart hurt. That that situation and that little example that you gave like landed really heavy with me, because I think it's corny, isn't it, but true. We never know what people are going through and what they're facing, what they're dealing with, and that's heavy.
Yep, it's true though. And I mean,
Mm.
that's nothing. That is nothing compared to, you know, some of the comments that have been made. But yeah, that's just a little snippet of the kind of small things that
Yeah.
can make a big impact on the ability to do something, or the
Mm.
ability to even leave the door and go to a specific event, or, you know, it can hold you back in ways that people just wouldn't know. Um, but yeah, going back to work as well. I mean, I suppose in life as well, like there's been a lot. I started out in events management. I said that earlier. I did a degree in events management at uni, and I had always worked kind of part time in the events industry when I was younger. And that was kind of where I seen my path taking me. And I went into the events world, and it was tough, like standing on my feet all day. I started out in the drinks industry, so it was going from bar to club, which, wasn't accessible. But at the time, I just powered through and managed it. But eventually, I made a call to kind of come out of that industry and move into the corporate world, where I thought it would be a bit easier for me. But, after I got made redundant from that job in the corporate world, I really wanted to go into another events job. But I just couldn't, because there was so many tabs on, there was so much criteria on what was required of you physically. And I knew I could do the job, but I'd do it in a slightly different way. And that's how I live my life. I do everything, but I do it in a slightly different way. So it's something simple like, okay, I'm on the registration desk at an event. I need a stool or a chair. Why is that so difficult? But things like that just aren't, and they certainly weren't back then, accepted. It was like, no, we need you standing at the front door. We need you in the office 3 days a week. We need you in London once a month. And, I can't just jump on and off a plane quite as easily, or get that red eye flight and then get the 8 o'clock flight back. I mean, that would take a week out of me. So, and it's like challenging those behaviours, which I'm so willing to do now. But people in the working world, people don't see why is it that you need to be doing it in this certain way. People just don't think about it. It's just always kind of, well, that's the way we've always done it. And that's why I've found the working world quite hard to navigate. And don't get me wrong, in my old job, I can't fault how good they were with me and adapting to my disability. But I'd been there a long time, and they knew me and they trusted me, and they knew that I was a good worker. I was reliable. I always delivered. I always delivered what was asked of me. So I was trusted. But taking on somebody new with those physical limitations, I think people see it as a barrier. Like, people see it as a disadvantage to them rather than an advantage to what I can bring to a role.
Yeah. And that's a really sad realization. You said something earlier, you do everything, but you kind of do it your way. And I've seen that with the way that you've approached your business. So the conscious choice that you made to kind of start your virtual assistant business and work in this way, is it fair to say that choice was you navigating and overcoming a lot of your barriers because you're taking control and ownership for yourself and working in a way that works for you? So has that been a big part more recently about overcoming some of those obstacles you very generously shared?
100%. 100%. I don't get me wrong, the working from home suits me perfectly. My house is set up the way I need it to be set up. It's adapted fully for me. I don't have that travel time to the office. I don't have all those things that can give me extra fatigue. Don't get me wrong, I miss going into the office. I miss seeing people. I miss all of that. But in terms of my condition, this setup suits me perfectly. I had to take matters into my own hands. I don't want to be only working, like in my old job, I could only work a certain amount of hours, because once I added in things like the traveling and just having the flexibility to be able to nip off to Pilates, nip off to swimming. If I was in the office 5 days a week, I couldn't do any of that, because that's all Pilates, swimming, that's all stuff that I need help for. My carer lives along the road from me. So being in the house allows me to manage my exercise program and look after myself a lot better than being in an office. So being at home, I've been able to work more hours. I know that's not always ideal, but it allows me to, have a better career for myself, because I was limited in my career before by the amount of hours that I could work. But I'm not limited anymore, because I can work any time of the day that I want. I can work during the day when my son's at school. When he's home from school, I can take him to his football. And now in an evening, if I've got a project or an event, I can sit and work 3 hours once he goes to his bed. So it's allowing me to build a career that works for me. I felt like my career was very limited in the working world, because I just couldn't put in the extra hours based on the setup of being in an employed role in an office. Whereas now I'm able to make that career work for me in a way that works for me.
Oh, Lynsey, you are incredible. Every time I speak to you, I learn something new and you change my perspective. Um, and I know you mentioned before, like your confidence and your kind of self-advocacy has grown over the years, but that can't have always been an easy thing, right? Because it's not
No,
just the practical um obstacles, is it? It's the emotional and mental ones as well, and the impact that that has. So is there anything that you might be comfortable sharing that you've found helpful in kind of growing? Is it confidence? What is it, do you
I
think?
think I'm a confident person. I've always been a confident person, but there's a confidence on the outside with me, but then there's a different side to me on the inside, which I've always shied away from. And that's part that's been related to my disability. It's been related, it's that kind of fear of being different that I've always kind of had to cope with. But I mean, I don't know, there's lots of different things that I can say I've done to help myself. There's age. That's not something that I've done. That's something that's happened to me. And I think everybody, grows in confidence and accepting who they are and their resilience as they get older. I think that's a natural thing. You're not trying to please so many people. You're just happy within your skin. And I think that grew throughout my 30s, but now I've hit the 40 mark. It's just growing even more. And you just care less about what people think of you. I think that's just quite a common thing for a lot of people. But resilience I've built up over a long time. As I said to you, 20 years living with this condition. And, it's not just been built up through natural methods. I've done a lot of work on myself over the years. I would say the turning point for me in my early to mid 20s was I did CBS, cognitive behavioural therapy. And I've done that a couple of times throughout my life. And the methods that I learned through that therapy have kind of stayed with me throughout. And it's something that was life changing for me. And it's something that I've been able to use in different situations, whether that's relating to work, to personal things that have been thrown at me, not just to do with my disability. And that really helped me overcome that fear and that barrier of people that I talked about, those people that said those harsh comments that really affected me. That gave me the confidence to be able to speak up to those people in a way that wasn't rude, but in a way that made them feel really silly for putting me in that position. And I remember just having like little tests over time of, okay, my therapist would say, try saying this, like, and see how it makes them feel. And then once you've done it once, it just wasn't such a big thing, like the second time, the third time. And then it's working on yourself and just over time, gradually building up that confidence. Yeah, resilience. Resilience is something that I have built up over 20 years. Sometimes I actually think I'm made of stone. Oh, it takes a lot to break me, Susie. It takes a lot to break me. I try and see the positive in every situation.
Mm.
So no matter whether that's relating to health, to a stressful situation at work, to my child coming home with a problem at school. I think it's important to try and flip it into a positive and try and overcome the problem. I'm a problem solver.
Mhm.
That's what I do. I'm faced with barriers in every aspect of my life, and I look at ways to overcome those problems and to do things differently, as I said before. And I've taken that mindset into my work as an EA and now a VA. I would say that's one of my biggest strengths. I solve problems. So it's looking for creative ways and tools that you can use to do things differently. Even going back to the physical limitations that I have in my house is full of gadgets galore. Like, people wouldn't even notice the gadgets that I have in my house because I have things set up in a way, little tweaks to things that just make it possible. Could be something as easy as opening a drawer. My hands don't have the strength to open that drawer. I could have a little thing under that drawer that nobody else knows about, and that pulls that drawer open. So it's just thinking of little tweaks, whether that's work, physical limitations, doing things differently to make it manageable for yourself.
Oh, Lynsey, thank you. Again, you always share so openly and so generously, from some of the therapy that's obviously had a significant impact on all areas of your life. But, that in itself, sometimes just to say that you've sought out that help, there still can be a bit of reservation about talking freely about those kind of things. And it blows my mind when I think about I know I've got the benefit of knowing you. I know you're a problem solver. I know you're incredibly resilient. I know you're incredibly creative. And but all those that example of the drawer, like, that's something that I wouldn't have ever thought could be a challenge. Yet here you are, having the gadgets and the plan and the foresight and the proactive approach to make those things possible for you. It's just, you are phenomenal, and that you're willing to speak and share and use your voice so freely to talk about these things. I am immensely grateful.
Thank you. I'm an open book. I'm happy to share anything. You can ask me any question and I'll tell you the truth. You know me.
And you know me, Lynsey. Now I'm like, what can I
Oh,
ask? What can I ask?
something's
It's
too
a challenge.
truthful.
But it's it's a, I know it's a progressive condition. So whilst your day to day takes a lot of planning, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of consideration, how do you feel about the future, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm not one to worry about the future. I take every day as it comes. I'm not a forward planner.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was sometimes. I'm a day to day. I live for the day. I don't worry about the future. I just, you don't know what's in front of you. What's the point in worrying about it or trying to plan for what might never be? This is a progressive condition that I've got. There is no treatment available. The only thing that I can do to maintain my strength and muscle is sort of physical therapy and exercise, and maintaining a sort of a healthy lifestyle. I'm very strict. I try and stay in shape. I eat a high protein diet. I exercise. I do all the things that are within my control. And it's important because you can only do what's in your control. And I try not worry about what's out with my control. And, when things change, like, I didn't used to use a crutch, and the day, I battled for ages, like having falls and, okay, should I maybe use a walking stick? I don't want to use a walking stick. I feel like an old person. How will people perceive me differently when I've got that stick? To then just taking the leap, using the stick, and then realizing how much more independence that gave me to just use the stick. Like, it's just, I think you just need to put yourself out there, try it. If you don't like it, fine. but it's, I try not to worry about the future.
Mm.
There isn't as I said to you earlier, I'm a positive thinker. So there isn't a treatment just now, but it's not to say there's not going to be one in 2 years, 5 years. I was told 20 years ago they were looking at probably 5 to 10 years for a treatment, and here we are 20 years later.
And it's interesting, isn't it? I'm focusing on what you can control and doing what you can do, and doing that in a way that makes you feel good and not worrying about what you can't influence. I mean, that's a skill. That is a honed skill to be able to take that approach. And I'm wondering if you could offer some words of wisdom to your past self who has just getting her head around this diagnosis and what that means. What do you think you would say to her if you could?
I would say just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, your ability, what you can achieve. I mean, I've met some incredible people along my journey with this condition, and especially now the world of social media is so big. I've spoke to people from all over the world with this condition or with similar conditions and looked at ways that they've overcome their barriers as well. And I think having that support network is so important. Find your people, find the people around you, find the people who are in similar situations to you that can offer that support that nobody else can. That is so important. I have a friend who actually lives not too far away from me. She just lives around the corner now, but I met her randomly at a conference in Newcastle. She was from Glasgow, and now she actually lives around the corner from me in Edinburgh. And she's got the same condition as me. And the support that we've offered to each other on just managing and navigating different physical limitations has been invaluable. And I've seen people with this condition throw themselves into exercise and refuse to let the muscles deteriorate, refuse to let it happen. And I've been off that mindset as well with the Pilates and with the swimming. But it's just believe. Don't accept that you can't do something. Find a way to do it. Stay focused, work hard, and be consistent, and have fun. That's my most important one.
And have fun. Oh, Lynsey. I mean, I can't understand the depth and the detail of your life, but I want to. And I'm always so grateful to you for educating me on this and letting me try to understand. And it's really quite a special thing. So thank you. I'm truly grateful to be part of your life, and I'm super grateful of your openness and your freeness to talk about. It's a big question for anyone. What are the obstacles? And here you are sharing just some really valuable insights and your perspective, and I'm very grateful to you for that. So thank you. So as a parting thought, for this episode, you've mentioned a couple of times today about that kind of in the past that shying away and not wanting to use your voice to communicate some of those challenges. And I wondered, Lynsey, if you had any wisdom and insights on communicating your needs.
Communication is key. And from what you know me, so you know that I'm a good communicator, and it's one of my top skills. However, on the flip side, I have always been bad at communicating what I need in relation to myself and my physical limitations. So it's so important. As I said, I've struggled, and I've really struggled more in the past, but now I'm not afraid. So don't be afraid to ask for what you need and what you want. Don't be embarrassed. If you need to ask for help, if you need to ask for things to be done in a different way, and it's not just in relation to having a physical disability. It could be in relation to having any sort of disability or any mental health needs. It could be anything. Don't be afraid to ask. What is the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing is they can say no.
You're absolutely right. And there are so many, I know, I'm thinking as a business owner, there are so many opportunities to ask and allow people to help you, and that's not always an easy thing to do, whatever the situation, whatever the circumstances. What's the worst that can happen? Ask for help and let people help you, right?
It's so hard to ask. I'm not afraid to ask for help for other people, or I'm not afraid to ask people what they need, but asking for help yourself is one of the hardest things you can do. And I just think you have to communicate. You have to tell people what your needs are. And if they can't meet them, then tough.
Yeah, so be it. At least you've done your bit, you've tried. Lynsey, thank you. I could talk to you for a lot longer, but this feels like a
Oh,
good place to close down this conversation for today. And thank you, Lynsey, for joining. And thank you to you, whether you're listening or watching. Time, energy, focus is all so precious. And I'm grateful that you've shared a little bit of that by tuning in today. And please do let us know if anything here has resonated, inspired, questioned. Get in touch, drop us an email, and I'll be back for another episode and purposeful conversation soon.